from Finglas growing up. Had this knowledge that I had to do or be somebody. Wasn't sure, because school kind of put this thought of you have to choose who you are in your head.
Meet Micheal, Marty, Byrne.
Anybody that's not working is on the dole, which is really no good to the government, but they have to look after them. So of course it benefits the government not to teach people how to be somebody like me, which is an entrepreneur. If you're earning so much set per week or month or year, you're not giving that to the government, you're writing it off against taxes and VAT. And the government doesn't want you to know how to do that. They want you to be the workhorse. This is your house. I didn't have anything to invest at, rented out one room. I actually had a curtain divided it down when I started out. You don't need to have money to make money. What is life? Life is a leasehold. Everyone here is on lease to the world. The world will last longer than we will. So what should be in your lifetime? To own a house that you're going to die out?
Thanks so much for coming on, Michael. Come down so late to do the podcast. We were planning
Come
this
down
month.
late to be late to come in.
So, I'm like, where do we start?
At the beginning. It's a good place.
Yeah. So you started being a bodyguard.
Should you just turn my hands when I get nervous? I'm nervous. What's going on? Yeah.
So how did you go from being a bodyguard for nightclubs to being a bodyguard for Shayne Ward?
That was easy, right? That was very easy.
Was it?
Yeah, I used to work for a company called Sort of Vanguard. Sort of Vanguard ran the Olympia Theatre, and that's where the kind of celebrity aspect came into it. And then I'm doing this thing where I talk fast again. It's calm. So I used to work for Sort of Vanguard. They also had the security on the likes of the Dragon, the George, Capital Bar, even Dicey's. The major kind of vicinity of the town centre. Used to be two guys. They're two friends of mine now, Victor and Emmett, and they basically ran a company along with Sort of Vanguard, and Sort of Vanguard were the security company for MCD, which is Caroline, the Tree Arena, and also Vicar Street and stuff like that, Peter Aiken. So they're all kind of in one bubble. So when I went to work on the doors, from the doors I started on Dragon, which is now Nolita. That used to be Dragon.
I feel like all the nightclubs changed so many. The names just changed constantly. I don't even know what's what.
They have, but they've disappeared. The nightclub scene's gone. Now, call me an oldie if you will, but the nightclub scene is gone in Dublin. But anyway, there was the Dragon. And in the Dragon was Graham Norton, all these kind of celebrities would go, and it wasn't as prestigious as the George. The George was kind of a more out there kind of, I'm gay and I'm in your face, whereas the Dragon was more of a kind of subtle, you can have a drink, you could be gay or straight but nobody bothers you kind of thing. Whereas in the George, everyone's just like, when I worked there, everyone was just wearing the face off each other, and toilets were like unisex and all sex, you know what I mean?
So it's like that now. I've never been.
Yeah, it's still like that. Not that I've been, I swear to God. But, no, I'm very comfortable with my sexuality, and my boyfriend is too. I'm joking. But yeah, no, George is brilliant. I love it for the crack. I absolutely love it. And do you know what? True story. Can't be saying this. I am saying it, but I pulled more women in the George than I ever did in my whole life, ever. Anywhere. I'm sorry, can't curse, but as anything I've ever worked at, because there were like 5 girls to every guy going into the George. And all me mates, I'll never forget, all the lads be looking around and they'd be like, look, there's Magic Mike on the door, you gay, beep and beep and beep. And I'd be like, we'll see. 12 at night, there's the gay guy rocking out with his boyfriend. There's their 5 girlfriends with no boyfriends to go with, and I'd be, of course I'll drop you home, ladies, why wouldn't I? So yeah, really easy to pull in, great spot, but they were the heydays.
For all
absolutely
the lads, letting them know,
so there you go, lads. Yeah, that's how I became infamous.
Yeah, so how did you end up going to your casting director as well? How did you get to doing that?
So from there, let's go back. I worked then in the Dragon, and that's where I met Louis. Louis worked at that moment, it was 2007, and they were Shayne Ward days, so I started doing driver assistant for Shayne Ward UK. We worked on X Factor, which was in Fountain Studios in Wembley. It was basically a small studio, really, really small, and it's mirrorized, so it kind of looks like...
Were you one of the judges at the X Factor now?
No, I wish I was. Are you mad?
For a minute I was like, were you?
No, I judged the Irish version. I judged Star Search. I judged all the Irish shows for a number of years. But then I'd be going over there, I'd be kind of, I don't know, replicating the Simon Cowell version in Ireland, and kind of big-headedly coming home here thinking I was more than I was, maybe, I don't know. But I loved it, absolutely loved it. It was surreal working on that. But that's how it went from security to security with celebrities to security management and so forth. So you can kind of see the platform working its way up there. And from security then with Shayne Ward, I got security with Westlife. Then I became tour manager. There was other people, Byrne. There was a whole team around the Louis Walsh company management. Denise, I mean, the whole lot. They all kind of pulled together. But Louis been kind of in the background for me for a very long time. A lot of people, I've seen some of the comments, and it's a good thing to kind of have somebody like that. Regardless of what people say, it's beautiful to actually have somebody like that in the industry that will help you and will guide you, regardless of what people say or think. But I've no regrets at all. They were the happiest days of my life was when I started out. Because when you get there,
it was a lot of fun.
It was the most beautiful part, because kind of when you get there, I mean, you have these aspirations and dreams, and you have these things where you kind of like, one day I'll be a megastar, one day I'll have a lot of money, and you get to certain things, you're like, the most fun, yes, the hardest part was starting off, but the most fun was starting off, because you make your first grand, you make your first 10 grand, and you're like, 10 grand, I got 10 grand. There's like, I don't want to touch it. Do you ever get that freeze moment? It's like you hit that figure, and then it goes up to 20. You're like, okay, so do this thing again. And you write, I don't know if you've done this. I'm sure people have done this at home, where you write down a little piece of paper. It's like, you let nobody see, even though you're just writing 20 grand. And then you roll it towards you to kind of reinvest it, manifest it, and all that stuff. Yeah. And you send it out there to the universe. And then it comes back, and you're like, oh my God, did that work or did that work?
So did you ever see, what's his name? Is it Jim Carrey? He had a thing. He was on a show. It was actually a few YouTube.
Jimmy Fallon.
No, it was
the New York thing, was it?
No, it was. Is it Jim Carrey? He was Liar, the film Liar. Yeah. So he was on a show, and he'd done that. He put in like a check for was it Liar that he was in? But anyways, it was a check that he put into his wallet of his, like, a deal for a certain amount of money, like. Yeah. And he had it in his wallet for ages, and then it's like the same date as well that you had it written down.
No way.
And he got signed for like a certain film.
So the story about him, very interesting, is that he didn't have this feeling that he was going to do or be somebody. He had a knowledge that he was going to be or do something. And the thing is that when, like me, small little me, for example, okay, take that whatever way you will, but small little me from Finglas growing up, had this knowledge that I had to do or be somebody. Wasn't sure, because school kind of put this thought of you have to choose who you are in your head. And that kind of frightens everyone. That kind of, okay, have to pick a career there, have to pick an apprenticeship, or have to do something really fast, really now, because my leaving cert says so. So that kind of takes away your creativity in who you want to be. And that's the sad thing that happens in our industry, and a lot of industries. But realistically, that kind of forces you into a manual labour kind of role.
Yeah, I feel like you're in school, you get taught of how to work in a corporate job, or how to work, like, just like,
well, that's the government to make benefits, because anybody that's not working is on the dole, which is really no good to the government, but they have to look after them. And anybody that's working is giving the government either 13.5 or 23% mostly for salary. So that you're giving them PRSI, you're giving them salary for your wages. So of course it benefits the government not to teach people how to be somebody like me, which is an entrepreneur. If you're earning so much set per week or month or year, you're not giving that to the government. You're writing it off against taxes and VAT. And the government doesn't want you to know how to do that. They want you to be the workhorse. They want you to be the one that provides a living for your family.
And gets a mortgage and just pays that off for the rest of the life.
And makes everybody happy, makes yourself miserable, and give the bare minimum that you can afford. They don't want to teach you how to be successful, because they don't want to make money off success. They make money off manual labour. It's always the way.
Yeah, I went to a course there, a 3-day event course, and I felt like I learned more at that than I did ever in school. Yeah. Literally came out with that, signed on to like a property development course, because I heard that you actually don't need any money to actually even get into property.
You don't. I got into it by accident.
Yeah, like crazy. Like, where I thought like I need to have a load of money like stacked up behind me to even get into that.
That's the old way of thinking. And then you have like your parents that would have the shovels out, and they'd be like, there's little potholes in the back garden, and they'd be hiding money in the mattress because they don't trust the banks and stuff like that. There's different sides, there's different ways to work businesses, and I mean we can get down to the business aspect of it very quickly, but it's really, really easy, actually. There is dream, believe, achieve, of course. You have to go in knowing that you're going to do it.
Put in the work,
Yeah, but it's not just go sleep, have a dream, and hopefully it comes true and keep your eyes closed.
Yeah, that's not what manifesting means. Where few people's like, that's voodoo. But it's manifesting and go for it and work towards it.
Yeah, but it's writing down your steps. What's next? And visualizing the next step to get to the overall step. It's not just a case of, well, at the end of this, I'm going on a hotel. And whatever happens between now and then,
out the window,
I'm like,
where is
man, throw the kettle on, let's have a few biscuits, and opportunity is going to knock at about 5:30.
Yeah.
It's not a case of that. That doesn't happen.
Yeah, exactly.
So, it's a case of you providing in your initial top part the next step, building the team around you, but inviting the team to come in. Not just kind of manifesting. Manifesting is subconsciously putting something out there. If you're going to manifest something, it means that you're not just saying, okay, manifest it to materialize with your hands. It's not. To manifest is to put thought into the brain to create touch, feel, to create the next step for things to happen, motion, and to set motions in play for things to happen for you. But you can do that easily, but you need to know step by step, such as the business step by step. The first thought is where it starts, because your thought is what goes into your brain to synchronize your actions, to synchronize the next step in progression.
Yeah, that's why I feel like a lot of people will think, that wouldn't be possible for me. I can't do that. So then they don't walk towards it.
Are you thirsty right now? Are you thirsty?
Yeah.
So it's like, I mean, what did you think of there when I just said that?
Do I want more?
Where's there a glass? Where will I get water here? Right, you're thinking anything to do like, do I want water? Am I thirsty? Where will I go?
I didn't think of like water. I was like, I totally.
So if I say I want a glass of water right now, or even let's try again. Where would I go to get a glass of prosecco right now? What's your initial thoughts? If I don't have any.
What time are we at? It's before 10. We can go to shop.
Right around the corner there. But yeah, I mean, the point I'm making is that usually when somebody says something, it sets off a synchronization of patterns, which is what you have to do to accomplish that next goal. So getting a glass of prosecco or getting a glass of water, or whatever the thought may be, you're thinking, I have to get up from here. Do we have a sink? Would you notice if it's bathroom water? You know what I mean? Just all of these things. And you're kind of, you don't tell them what you're thinking, but these are the thoughts in your head. And so these thoughts will create your next move to get that water. Do you get me? Yeah. Sometimes if you share these, you might be able to get help from somebody, and he might know somebody down the road, or I might, so sharing these thoughts will create the next step of achievements that unlock the next step of goals, unlock potential.
Yeah. Throw that in there.
But does that make sense to you?
Yeah, of course.
So if you take that on a bigger scale of property, for you to get a property, people instantly take a big breath and they're like, a property?
Yeah.
And it's kind of like
the negative thoughts, do you know what? Since I'm telling people about it, and I don't even want to tell anyone. I'm like, I'm after saying it on this podcast. I say some of the people that are going to be actually looking at this and going to be like, this thing is mad. The amount of people and family and people around me that I've said it to, and they're just looking at me as in like they're already like friends and all. Like they're just like, what? Like, do you know? Because they literally have the same thought as I had.
In their mind, it's been a life kind of thing where eventually, if you work your whole life, you'll get this, and that's kind of passed down through chains of generation bills, and that's kind of like, look, that's the retirement plan that you will own your house one day. So it's not really in reach for people to think. However, if you think about life, what is life? Life is a leasehold. Your life is a leasehold. I'm a leasehold. Everyone here is on lease to the world. The world will last longer than we will. So what should be in your lifetime? To own a house that you're going to die after? Or to lease the house for free? Is that more possible? You can still have the same rights as an owner. You don't have to physically own it. Okay, it'll build equity over time. It'll double its value appreciation of the house. That's grand. You leave it on to your children, but they won't own it either. They'll just lease it. Even if you own it, you'll never own the piece of the earth. You'll never own the house, because realistically, this world will be here long after we're gone. Yeah. So what is life? Life is on lease. So that's why I know it sounds...
when you put it that way, actually, yeah.
I mean, people are so, ownership of a house because I can leave something to my family. That's great.
And the course
I'm doing. Family ain't going to take the bricks and mortar to the grave with them. They're going into the muck, man. Do you know what I mean? I'm not putting a downer on it or anything. Yeah. But what I'm saying to you is my business started from leaseholding. And you can't appreciate value with leasehold, but here's what you can do. You can make massive amounts of money on it, more so than you can ever make trying to build a house or trying to buy a house. So I can describe it in layman's terms. For you to buy a house, it's going to take a lot less than it would to rent a house from somebody. So if you were to rent an apartment, it would probably be now $3,000 a month, right? If you were to get a mortgage on an apartment, you're probably looking at, I don't know, about 14, 15, 16 maybe per month now, okay? So it's cheaper to buy than it is to rent from a landlord. But let's put it in a different perspective. If you were to, let's say, rent a commercial building, which is what I've done, commercial will make you a billionaire. As I've said recently in the Sunday World, commercial will make you a billionaire. Residential property will eventually make you a millionaire. If you understand what I mean by that, you don't have to own the residential property. You don't have to own the hotel in which you're vacating or you're vacant in. Like if you, let's say one of my locations, it's in town. We won't mention
it was actually, so for people who are listening, don't know what you're on about, you have a lot of spas.
But them as well, yeah.
Salons, don't you? Yeah.
Well, today, this week, we took over two brand new apartments this week for free. And I know that sounds weird.
Yeah,
people
you're like, what do you mean for free?
Yeah, for free, absolute free. Absolute free. Didn't pay a penny, didn't touch the banks, nothing. Took 2 apartments for free. Absolute no money down.
I'm like, how did you do that? Can you share?
Yeah, I can. Well, it's in somebody other podcast, so I won't dwell into it too much, but it's part of the or-to-or scheme. So if you look at any of the documentaries I've done with Samuel Leeds in the UK, if you have a look at the rent-to-rent scheme, you'll see how I took 2 apartments for free without any money down. Basically, we took them, we pre-sold them, so you're the middleman, you become the middle person. So if you're the apartment owner, and let's say you're leasing them to me commercially over a lease of 2-3 years, you're giving them to me per month. I'm basically taking them, subleasing them to commercial lettings, over abroad, students, whatever, French, nurses, anybody with contacts that's working in Ireland. The government will give you a list of them. So you basically import them, such as student accommodation, but you're not students on an adult term. You're basically bringing them in. You have direct contacts with the government. In the interim, you could always sublease them on Airbnb or do whatever you wanted that way. But you're basically selling these apartments out, week by week, day by day, night by night, whatever. You're probably getting about 300-400 quid a night for them, as you probably would do with a 2-3 bed apartment.
Right, so you're
basically getting 3 by 7, 21, so 2,000 per month. That's 2,000 per week, which covers the cost of the landlady, which is you per month. Then the rest would be probably £6,000 profit per month. So I basically am taking these properties away from you, not owning them, leasing them, such as life, and making a profit off your properties without you even know.
All right, okay. Wait, so you not have to actually let the landlord know?
No, you do, but it's under a commercial lease term. It's not under a residential lease term. So the landlord will know that you're using these for commercial uses. Do you hear me?
Right, okay.
And it's all signed into the contract and drafted as well.
Right, yes, you're just basically subletting them.
Exactly. Yeah. You become the middle person that becomes the profiteer of the properties.
Yeah, right.
You're covering the landlord's costs, all their possibilities or capabilities or whatever. And we'd have our own maintenance company that come in and they look after the company, the properties, and the cleaners then come in, they're charged of cleaning the properties, our insurers insure the properties. So we have a team of people that basically provide different services. And we've recently brought people into this scenario, such as the Hustlers. I've set up this company called the Hustlers, and it's basically for a couple of people who set up and listened to my last podcast and got in touch with me. And since then, they've now got 6 properties in the last month.
That is mad. I'm like, what podcast is that? I'd say everyone.
That was Abby's.
Abby's podcast,
yeah. So these guys listened to Abby's podcast and they asked me to meet up with them afterwards. And I don't often do it, but they were very persistent. And they bumped into me coincidentally in house, however coincidence that might be. But Bruno and Huss, if you're listening, well done, guys. Achievements.
Yeah, unreal. I'm going to be going home and listening to the podcast now, yeah. That is crazy, isn't it? Yeah, it's mad. Like there was someone at the event as well talking about it. Like we were at like a lunch thing and we were asking questions for the people that presented the thing, and he was talking about that he sublets loads of houses and apartments, and he really does anything.
Not a positive word though. I mean, when a landlord hears subletting, they think you're just giving my keys to anyone that'll take them, you know?
Yeah.
But to actually have a company formed that you know is going to take care of their property, because let's face it, longevity is the key here, because if I'm taking on a client, not a landlord, but a client, under my wing, then it's my responsibility that I fully take care of everything that I said I will.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
It's not just
you
a case
signed
of
the contract.
subleasing. It's a case that, well, we have cameras installed outside the building. So we know who's in the building at all times. On a Saturday night, we have drive-by spot checks. People that actually go by, they're allowed to listen, and there's a key point, a beeper outside the place to prove that our security is there at that time. So we have all those instruments in place to make sure that the property is fully checked. And there's no parties and stuff like that as well. And all the neighbours have the contact number for our key holders in case there's any noise, so that the alarm guys go straight over. So there's all those things in place to make sure that they're not party houses, if that makes sense.
Yeah. And how did you get into all of this? How did you
By accident. I told you. I replied to an ad.
Like, where did you get all the information for this?
A lot of it I picked up on my own, weirdly enough. The property itself, is Samuel Leeds in the UK. He's the biggest property investor in the UK. But he taught me more about the UK. And then when you learn about UK property, Ireland is a walk in the park compared to the UK. In the UK, in London, it's kind of like New York. So in London, you're dealing with different property locations around London that you're not allowed to rent in at all because it's too highly populated. In Dublin, we only have certain parts of that. It's only starting to come into Dublin now. But in the UK and London, if you bought a house, you're not allowed to rent it or sublease it or do anything with it. Then 90% of London. Because
you're not allowed
to have anybody even. You have to live in it. Because even though it's so expensive, but there's different rules in London, and they're starting to take effect in Dublin. Slowly you can see them by saying you're not allowed to Airbnb. So these are a mirror effect of what's already happened in the UK. So if you study the UK property, you're ahead of the game with the Irish property.
Right, and you have?
Yeah.
Yeah, and that was where who? Because I'm like,
Samuel Leeds. He's a property investors UK. He's the biggest property investor in the UK.
I'm like, didn't expect this podcast to come talking about all of this.
Well, there's so much you can go either way. You can go either way.
Yeah, I know.
Look,
that's
the
good.
biggest thing...
That's really good information,
The biggest thing that I would say, and this, I'll leave it with this if that's okay. I don't want to go too much into property because a lot of my stuff is about property. But the biggest thing that I would say, right, is this is your house, okay?
Yeah.
And this is, let's say, a commercial property. This is your one property, your bedroom, okay? And this is a commercial property. Now, and this is an actual fact. You can have a look and you can do the research on what I've done. This building for your house probably costs, I don't know, $2,000 a month on average. And this commercial property that holds 15 to 20 units in it probably costs you about $4,000 a month, okay? So for twice the price as this, you're getting 15 rooms, okay? Makes sense? Yeah. So in 15 rooms, you're renting these properties, these rooms or whatever. You can put them into floors, apartments, condos, whatever you want. But you've got 15 of them, and they actually do. I'm not going to say roughly. I'll cut the bullshit. They do sell at £1,500 to $2,000 per month in my place. Okay,
per room,
because I'm in the heart. I'm just off Grafton Street. Okay, so that means that's a 30k turnover. That's without overheads, but that's 30k basically. And then you have your one property a month here, which you're paying $2,000 a month for. And if you sublease that, you'll probably make $4,000 on. So you probably double that as well. But double that is the difference between $30,000 and $4,000. So what I mean to say is that you can do this on a residential scale, or you can do it on a commercial scale. The difference is in the figures.
Yeah, mad, isn't it?
Is it too much to kind of take in?
No, I'm like, I've only heard or got into this probably only a couple of weeks ago because I didn't realise it was achievable or like it was possible for me to ever get into any of that. So now I'm just like, it's crazy like that not like no one actually even knows about this or that anybody can just do it.
I love figuring out the different ways to make money. Yeah. Recently, I've just converted some of my locations into spa complex, kind of really high-end jacuzzis with waterworks and so forth in them. And they're slow to sell because of the marketing, but I just love trying new things and seeing what works and see what sells. Recently, I've gone into buying broken businesses and refurbishing them, such as a house. If you see a house and you find out that, they say, and I know from the property friends of mine, you find a house and it's the biggest S-hole of a house that you can find, that will make you the most money in return. When you flip that or refurbish that, that'll become the most valuable because you're buying it at the lowest point. Do you get me?
I'm like, how do you have time for all this?
It's just stuff that I've learned over the years. Yeah.
I'm like,
it's really exciting though. A lot of people, I think, look, the difference is with me is that I didn't inherit anything. And I started late as well. I started when I was in my 30s. So I learned the hard way. by accident. I didn't have any money. Nobody gave me a penny to invest. Nobody believed in me. I didn't have anything to invest. So I had to start with one room, start renting out one room. I actually had a curtain dividing it down when I started out. That's how I started in the Camden Court Hotel. And that was, 8 years ago only?
And you know what? See the way you say that I didn't inherit any money. I didn't get any... that's what you
And that's
get.
not to put anyone down that did.
No, yeah, of
but
course.
that's just to show people that you don't need to have money to make money.
Yeah,
although
exactly,
it does work that way when you get money. When you want to make serious money, you use your money, not your money so much, you use the bank's money, which is collateral. So you use collateral against your future purchases, not your actual money. So then you're kind of going into money that doesn't exist. It's equity. So you get your equity and you use that to buy purchases.
Yeah, no, I feel like it's just the point that I was kind of trying to put across there is like people think that the only reason they're doing well or the only reason that they're because they knew somebody or they had this background or they had this money. Where, do you know what I mean? Where anybody can actually, if they know this information or they look for it, they can actually do it or achieve it.
Yeah.
So yeah, like just shows the fact that you're saying that you didn't actually get any help and you've done it all yourself.
Yeah. I mean, I have to learn lessons too, but before COVID, I had just put in a lease for a castle in Dublin, which I got. And
when you say a castle,
yeah, so I bought a castle. I didn't buy. My equity purchased the castle for lease, long-term lease, which was a castle over 20 years. And it's a golf club castle, and it was out near Portmarnock. And we got that through a hotel chain that I was involved with. And then COVID came and crushed all of my properties because, of course, I realized that all of my industries were dependent on one thing: tourism. So the spas, the properties, my UK properties, any of the hotels that I was involved with, everything depended on traffic trade tourism. So when COVID kicked in, of course, all the airports closed down. Instantly overnight, my whole property ladder collapsed into nothing. Zero. And I had to file for bankruptcy straight away.
Jesus Christ.
So that was me at the starting up within 3 to 4 years, killing the property chain, making it big, learning, studying the whole thing, thinking this is a dream, and learning quickly, do you know what? It's not bulletproof, mate. Boom, gone overnight. And I had to start picking the pieces back up again.
Yeah.
But it was the biggest lesson because what was happening was I was getting very comfortable, a bit too comfortable. Got very, very comfortable. And I was sitting in my high-arse mansion out in the middle of whatever country I landed up in, and I was okay with that. And I was thinking, you know what? I'm in the carriage and I'm just reining all these horses, and they're all my managers, and they're all doing whatever I want them to do, and that's great. But I hated my life at that point because I forgot the beauty was in the making of the money. The beauty was in the experiencing it for the first time, and I kind of got lost in the rags to riches kind of story. But I was able to stay at top and think I can just order meals to my room. I don't even have to leave the room. And the beauty was gone in it though. So the best thing that ever happened to me was the property market crushing and me getting crushed, because then I had to fight again. And to this day, this week, in fact, I've been out, and I don't need to, but I've been out with the new crew, the hustlers that are on the way here, but they're only coming in for a second. But I was with them, and I've got paint on me, and I've been working today. And I don't need to, but I want to, because it keeps me grounded. And it's what I love to do, because when I'm working with my manual labor hands, I'm more creative in my mind. And I'm thinking, what can I do to get out of this hole? You're not in a hole. You're just putting yourself there, you know? But it's kind of, it keeps the mind creative. And I love it.
Yeah, that's good.
It reminds me.
Yeah, I feel like your hardest times are kind of like, they're like lessons. And to get you to somewhere better, you're probably doing better than you did before.
I am,
right
but
now.
I'm more grateful. I've learned about gratitude. It's so beautiful. Yeah. I've learned to not waste time. One thing that this whole COVID thing has taught me about is the commodities of time. And I'm not sure if you'll know this or not. I'm not sure if anyone has said this on any podcast, but it's only with time, when you're standing over your loved one's bedside or whatever the case may be, hopefully they're standing over yours or whatever, I don't know, but you're holding somebody's hand and you're looking at them and you're not sure, they're close to the last breath, and you know that there's not a lot of time left, or your last breath. And so you look at this moment, the last thing you're going to think about is, remember that time you took that money from me and I asked you where it was and you lied to me. You're not thinking about that. You're thinking about, oh my God, all these amazing times I've had with this person. You don't have time to look back at the negative at that point. You just you amalgamate all the beauty and all the good things that happened throughout your lifespan together, and you look at all the good things, and therefore the commodity of time is much more important than any money that you might have shared with your partner or any fights you might have shared with your partner. So therefore you appreciate the value of the time that you've had. When you do that, it'll teach you a lot about the making of money. You can make a lot of money, but it's over what period of time and at what cost, you know, to your life and sacrifice is it worth?
Yeah, so I feel like time is...
when you put it in that perspective, time is a lot more valuable.
I feel like you blink now and it's like already a year's gone.
Well, I think you have to get to another point before you say it. And
I feel like I'm already like that. I'm already like, how are we? I feel like Christmas was yesterday.
Yeah, no, it is.
I'm already nearly. It was only bright about half an hour ago. Yeah. Did you notice that? Not bright, but you know what I mean.
I know.
But yeah, and then
the quality of time is hugely important, and only when you get affected, or I'm sorry to say, I had to become successful, or I don't know, whatever you want to call it. I don't want to vein myself up, but you have to become a certain level of stature before you realize how many people will take the time from you, how many people will run away with that if you let them. Whether it's people using your loved ones emotionally, the emotionally draining. If I'd have taken as much time as I put into relationships in my life, I'd be as Godzillionaire by now at the level at which I do business. So if I was to take the time that I wasted holding on to relationships that were dead, Dad, the dog died in May, can we keep it? It's now fucking September. You know what I mean? No, get rid of it, bury it. If the dog is dead, you got to bury it. So that's one thing in relationships, is that somebody always holds on for some reason or another. Whether it's them asking you to, whether it's you out of your guilty conscience, whatever the reason, when the dog dies, you got to bury it. And remember that saying, because people hold on to things that are not destined for them. It's such as that scene with the rocket going to the moon, you know, it's only supposed to take you so far. You're supposed to go the rest of the way on your own. That's why it cuts it off, you know?
Yeah. That was like a quote from a book there. That was good.
You can shortcut that part out as well. I can do a few more of them, you know? We can go through them. But yeah, it's very important. And, you know, they'll slow you down in life. They really will. People will be the biggest test you'll ever go through, because it's what you will learn the most from. Unfortunately, it will hurt you the most, but it will teach you the most. However, it's up to you what you let time consume you. Yeah. If you allow them to spend so much time teaching you those same lessons because you're vulnerable, because you're not being a man or a woman or strategically strong, then they're going to take up more and more of your time if you let them. Because you're not feeling very self-conscious, because you want validation from somebody, because it's up to you in your mind. Well, maybe this person knows more about... No, you know more about you than you. And remember that. When you're strong, you can have your choice of whatever you need to do. Women, men, anything. They're all there for you. But realistically, by you waiting for self-validation from somebody else, you're never going to get it. Ever. And you're just looking at the clouds and you're missing the stars. It's gone.
Yeah, exactly.
You're loving these quotes,
aren't you? Yeah. But yeah, so the Glamour Awards.
Oh, here you are. Back to earth.
Yeah, so that's new, is it?
New. Yeah. Yes, very, very brand new, actually. It's coming out because I've been working on the Miss Bikini for the, like...
Yeah, you do a lot of pageants, don't you?
Yeah, and they're very fun. I've taken a step back from them now officially, this week actually, in fact. We bought into them. Myself and Greg were working for Miss Bikini Ireland for the last 10 years. We've lost a very close loved one that was beside me on the panel for 10 years last year. And this is the first year she's not going to be on the panel with me. So that's quite tough to deal with. But having said that, the panels were so much fun. There's something that I'm probably after getting reared into at this point that I know so much about. It is judging girls or guys or whatever, but it's judging people that are going to be successful in life. And, you know, some people may say, who are you to sit there and judge these people that are going to be successful in life? And that's fine. But, you know, when you've picked so many winners, it's kind of like, well, what's the point in X Factor? Or what's the point in any of these shows? And somebody that knows what it takes to get to that point and saves other people maybe the hassle. I get that. You know what I mean? Like, it's kind of one of those weird things where you can't really tell somebody if they're not supposed to model, but yet they want you to tell them if they are. Do you know what I mean? There's only going to be one winner at the end of the day for every pageant. And all these other girls are looking and they'll come up to you and be like, so have I got what it takes, Michael? And you're kind of like, Well, here's what you need to work on. Do you know what I mean? Like, you try to look for criticism for them and you try to give them something to focus on, or it's usually 90% of the time just confidence. It's usually what it is.
Yeah.
And it is when they speak. And a lot of them are not born Irish. They'd be Irish, but they'd probably be over here since like the age of 5 or 6. But then their walk would be off. And usually when you connect those 3 dots, their confidence with their walk and their ability to get across to the audience what they're trying to say. Usually when you connect those 3 dots, you have a winner. And believe it or not, it's really hard to connect those 3 dots when you're sitting behind a pageant for 10 to 15 years like I have. You see them instantly. And I can spot them from the second they walk out if they're going to be a potential winner. The walk tells me more. I can execute a model by looking at them. And I know this sounds terrible, but this is my job, so leave me alone. But
you've done it for so long.
I am the expert. I'm the longest term judge in Ireland for pageants. And I've done this. I've judged Miss Ireland before Miss Bikini Ireland. I've done all of these. So when a model starts her walk, I can tell if she's going to be in the top 5 or not. When she starts talking, I can tell if she's going to be in the top 3 or not. And that's kind of how I can break it down really quickly. And there has been some disputes, but I will say now officially that I overruled all judges every year for 10 years backstage.
Oh, like disputes between the judges?
Massive disputes between judges backstage.
Oh, like who's gonna...
And I've been right every time. Every single time I've been right. I've picked winners that have gone on to be the closest in the world finals in America.
Oh, really?
And recently, Alyssa was the closest that ever reached the world finals. I think she became 7th closest to the world. So Alyssa is the current year model, and she worked with me in the recent photo shoots for Sunday World and stuff as well. So I'll use her now for other things, such as promote my businesses and spas and so forth. But yeah, I picked her then. She was 7th to the world final. So that was number 7 in the world to represent Ireland. So that was quite high.
You know what?
And that's over hundreds of thousands of people from nationwide, worldwide.
Yeah. Yeah. So you clearly know what you're doing.
Well, some may doubt that, but that's up to them. And, it's not for my own purpose of benefits. I don't get anything from it apart from the businesses. And you may judge that as well. But no, I've never had any involvement or anything like that with any of the girls from any of the winners or anything down the years. It's been a pleasure to kind of judge, but I'm not doing it anymore. Officially, I don't think I've announced that yet to the public or anything like that. But this will be my last year to judge.
Yeah, and will the other people doing it? Will they? There will be new judges and there will be new people. I've gone into directorship and regional ownership of the companies, so I'm definitely always going to be a part of them. But I just think it's time for me to take that little step back and focus on the Glamour Awards. Glamour Awards is going to be Ireland's first Oscar-style nominated awards in Ireland. Oh my God, it's going to be massively huge. So we're going to be working with mega superstars on it, people abroad that you would never think were Irish, singers, actors, all that sort of stuff. And we're going to be looking at bringing them home for the Glamour Awards. So make no mistake about it, the Glamour Awards is going to be on the highest prestigious level in Ireland. Yeah, it's going to be in the Mansion House. The Mansion House is the Lord Mayor's house, basically just off Dawson Street. But we're putting a lot of time, energy and money into this. It's going to be an online voting system. And basically you'll be able to vote for whoever it might be, whether it be Maura Higgins or Conor McGregor, or whoever in sport divisions, categories, past tributes to Christy Dignam or Sinead O'Connor or, anybody like that. So there's going to be, massive contributions to people all round, whether TV, drama, whatever the case may be in different categories. And of course the glamour models as well. I know someone, I can't mention any names for favoritism reasons, but we found it very difficult because we have to reach out to the management before we can upload these people. You can't just upload these people onto your website and say vote for them. They have to all go up the exact same time, so it makes it fair on the voting system. Plus their management always have to accept the nomination. It's not just a matter of nominating somebody and saying, me as the owner of the Irish Glamour Awards would like to represent somebody. You have to wait for acceptance of that nominations before you can go ahead with it. It's quite technical when you get into it. Yeah, that's on like, how would you even like? What made you even like? Obviously, you're doing this for a long time now. You're on these type of.
Well, there's massive sponsorship in it. Like one of our sponsors just come in there with a 250,000 euro sponsorship deal on one sponsor. So the sponsorship levels that are going behind these celebrities that will have to build up to it will probably come to a couple of million over the year.
Yeah.
Because it's just a TV station.
It's going to be
there's
big
two
thing.
magazines that are in competition with each other at the moment for the show. We can only have one.
Two magazines.
Yeah. And they're bringing a lot of heat and money to the table. And believe it or not, they're the owners of the newspapers. That will
That's what you want, anyways. That's a good thing for you. Yeah.
So they're kind of competing against each other for that spot. Because we put some hot names on the list for the Glamour Awards, and it's going to be a different level. It's ran from the Glamour Awards in the UK, but the Glamour Awards in the UK is more about modelling aspects. This has got the modelling aspect to it, but it also has the overall glam of TV to it as well. It's not just models and raunchiness to it. It's kind of more open, kind of cascaded. It's good though.
Yeah, amazing.
Interesting.
Thanks so much for coming on, Michael.
No worries.
So if anyone is looking out to reach out to you, where can they find you?
It depends what they're looking to reach out to me for.
You probably don't want them.
Yeah, there's a lot of things, but you can always find me on Instagram, but I spell my name Micheal. Micheal. So nobody can really find me unless they can now. But yeah, that's pretty much it.
Thanks for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks so much for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to hit the like and subscribe button and follow us on Instagram at Demi's Nails and Beauty or our podcast page, Unlocked Potential Podcast. See you next time.